How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be continuing my Sharks of Summer series. Sharks of Summer is a series I do around here where once a week, at least once during the summer, I take a look at a shark movie. And today is going to be the last one of this year's Sharks of Summer. It's the end of September, October's coming around. Really excited for those Halloween movies, and I really do hope to get onto this series again next year. But I did save this one specifically for the end, and I'll get to that in a minute. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Shark Swarm. This is from 2008 and is part of this Maneater Series. Maneater Series was a collection of direct-to-video or TV and then video creature feature movies. Last year during Sharks of Summer, we talked about Malibu Shark Attack. They're not all shark movies, and I do need to get to some of the other ones soon, but cool to talk about a Maneater movie. This is directed by James A Contner and stars Daryl Hannah, John Schneider, Armand Assante, and F. Murray Abraham. And why I saved this for the end is the reason that most people talk about this movie. This movie is almost 3 hours long. A lot of people go around if they mention this as the 3-hour shark movie, and that's what a lot of people know this for. Granted, it's a little bit of a misnomer. According to the back of the box, it's 164 minutes, so 2 hours and 44 minutes. Not quite 3 hours. I mean, it's ridiculously bloated. You might as well try to cross that 3-hour mark. But there is a few things worth note. Is this was a made-for-TV movie, and you can tell because the DVD leaves in those fade to blacks where the commercial breaks would go. But supposedly, this was like a 2-night event, you know, like if you're Stephen King fans, think the original version of It or Salem's Lot. There's not really an exciting thing that breaks the movie in half, but I paused it at the commercial break at 1 hour and 20 minutes and came back to it the next day because, yeah, I could not binge the whole thing in one day. I watched it all, but I had to do 2 nights on this one. But anyway, other than the time, other than it being almost 3 hours, this movie is remarkably unremarkable. And I mean, shockingly, not much happens in this movie. The movie, once you get the plot set up, kind of goes along its expected path, like a little wind-up toy. Twist it in the beginning and then just let it go. There's no major twist or turns or interesting plot things, you know, hardly any interesting scenes at all, really. None of the characters are particularly special. Most of them could be cut out of the movie and you wouldn't miss much. And there's no big cheesy moments, you know? This is a made-for-TV movie, so you can't go hard R with shark carnage, and you also don't have the budget to be wacky, you know? So there's no cheesy moments, no interesting plot moments, no funny characters, really nothing unexpected. It's like a whole movie made on autopilot that definitely did not need to be 3 hours long. It's not like the worst shark movie I've ever seen would be Shark Exorcist, and there was blatant runtime padding in that movie where people were like walking or doing establishing shots that didn't need to be there. This movie isn't like that. It pads the runtime, but with legitimate scenes. It's not boring walking scenes, but it is characters talking about things that they've already talked about, you know? And it's just monotonous. Let's talk a bit about the plot. No major spoilers, but the setup of this movie. We get a villain, and he's polluting the water, but he's doing it intentionally in this movie. The idea is Full Moon Bay is a fishing town, so if he kills all the fish, He can buy up the entirety of the fishing town and turn it into condos. You know, I don't think that, like, I'm sure there's another bay you could buy that no one's really living in, and can you really kill all the fish for miles and no one's gonna suspect you? Whatever, the town loves him because he's saving the town, right? Our hero is a struggling fisherman who's the only one who hasn't sold his business and property, and he's right in the middle and they can't just build around him. I mean, really you could, because no business ever gets everything, but apparently the plan can't start until this one guy sells, and he's like, I'm the one guy standing up for the community. The community that all sold out, except for you, hates you for not selling out, and loves the guy that's taking them away. I don't know what community you're really trying to stand up for and save. Everybody just seems like they want out of here. But he's the one guy that won't sell. And of course, sharks. The toxic sludge is for some reason affecting the sharks, as it's one to do. They're going to get angrier. They're going to travel in packs. They're going to be harder to kill. And that's when the ramifications come and the movie will heat up a tiny bit. Yeah, that's the basics of the plot. And the basic of the plot, yeah. I want you to don't sell sharks. Really simple. There's a lot of extraneous stuff and extraneous characters, you know? The daughter of the main character meets a surfer boy and they fall in love. What bearing does this have on the plot? Well, that's why she's in the water at the end of the movie. The grandma is hitting on this pastor character, and she'll be in a baptism at the end of the movie. That's the whole reason why either of them are there, is just to add one more body in the water at the end of the movie. And like, even the wife character, like Daryl Hannah, is credited first, but her character isn't even given anything significant to do. She's the wife of the main character, she has her own business, and she'll talk to the other characters in the movie, and she'll also not want to sell out to the businessman. But honestly, if you had just wrote that his wife was dead and he was sad, you probably would have got more mileage out of this character, because she doesn't do much. And there's even like a government girl that's supposed to give permits and stuff, and her whole deal is like, I think something's fishy with this business, which every other character also thinks. But she works for the government and she's not given any sense of authority. Like, she has to sneak around just like any of the other main characters, and she never gets to use her position of power. The only time she does something interesting and different is when she just randomly starts flirting with the main character's brother, and then at least something's happening here. But yeah, another character that does something derivative and could totally be cut out of the movie. Really, you only needed, like, the main guy and one of the scientists, because yeah, his brother's a scientist, and then he also has this a critically acclaimed scientist friend who just sits at the computer, and that's the only difference between those two characters, is one goes out and flirts with this girl and the other just sits behind the computer. If the guy that's running around had a laptop, they could have been the same character. There's no point. And all the scenes will get super derivative. The villains will go, we have our evil plan, we're gonna be evil. The heroes will say, there's something up. There's something with the environment. I hate the villain. Oh, there's sharks. Again and again and again. There is just way too much of nothing going on in the movie, and to the point where some characters, semi-major characters, will just be out of the movie for a long time, and they'll pop up again like scientists on the computer, and I'll be like, oh yeah, you were in the movie, I forgot about you. It's way too long. And the sharks, there's no good kills in this movie. The people will do something to lure the sharks. They'll either bang against something, or they'll have blood in the water somehow. The sharks will come. The people will quite often stupidly fall in the water. I'm going to say that that's a power that sharks have, is to make people fall in the water. And then they get eaten. Nothing special. Thrashing, shark footage, cut it together. No cool kills. And even the kills, like, the shark should have weight in its kills, but it always, like, until the end, it's just killing randos. People will show up in a movie with too many characters already just to get killed by the sharks. And this is also a movie that the sharks really could have been cut out of it too. Like, for real, at the core of this movie, it's a drama about an evil businessman killing the fish, and the heroes have to uncover his plot. The sharks are just an unintended side effect that will sporadically eat people throughout the movie that have no bearing on the plot as well, and then are basically just a threat that happens to be in the water at the end of the movie. It's just random burst of action and then heated action at the climax. The sharks are really only there to provide action sequences, but other than that, aren't crucial to the plot at all, really. It's just not great. And before we get out of here, yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room, that runtime, the edit. As I said, there's so many derivative scenes in here, but other than meeting the longer obligation to be a 2-part TV movie, other than your obligation for that, there is absolutely no reason why this needed to be so long. You know, everybody talks about deleted scenes. And yes, there are several scenes in here that could have been deleted. Characters talking about things that we already know. Cut that out. We don't need it. Chatting with grandma for no reason? Cut that out. We don't need it. But there's like drama about how the guy's daughter wants to go to college, but it's far away. Or there's a little girl that sees sharks, but no one believes her. Or a random scene where the scientist that just sits behind the computer has students come up and want him to sign his book. Those are scenes that can be cut out that I remember. How many scenes have I forgotten? Because, again, so much of this movie is forgettable. How many of those could have been cut out? And the thing is, too, everybody talks about deleted scenes. They get really famous because sometimes you'll see them on DVDs. Editing is not just deleting scenes. I mean, that's part of it. But you're also deleting shots and deleting seconds. So much of editing is figuring out the pace, figuring out the clip that it moves along, and, you know, figuring out what people's attention spans are for each little thing. And there is some times where it's like, we didn't need to cut back to the shot of this character. It adds nothing to the movie to just cut back to them going, huh, and then back. And there's so many little shots where it's like, you could have trimmed a few seconds off the beginning and end of the shot. You didn't really need that. This movie could use a good trimming all around. Take out unnecessary scenes, take the ones that you keep and make them tighter. There's just so much extraneous stuff in this movie, and I kid you not, this movie is almost 3 hours long. There's enough story here for 75 minutes. Get a good editor. He can trim this down to 75 minutes. It would be watchable, and that's literally all the movie needs to be, granted what actually goes on in the plot here. It's just derivative and boring and nothing special. This isn't cheesy, this isn't over the top, there's no memorable plot twists and turns. Once it's set up, it plays out exactly how you'd expect to, and none of the characters are interesting, and most of them could be cut without missing anything. There's just, sadly, nothing at all special in this movie, other than the fact that it's strangely long and can be looked at as a bit of an oddity. Well, yeah, that's that Shark Swarm. I hope I didn't ramble too long. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. Since this is my last episode of Sharks of Summer 2023, I'll leave the Sharks of Summer 2023 playlist on the bottom if you want to go and watch the whole series. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Sharks of Summer playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.